Go ahead and introduce yourself because I know Bryant doesn't know too much about you either.
Great to meet you.
Okay. Nice to meet you too. I'm Shanel. I am a doctoral candidate in counselor education. So I'm a clinical therapist. I do therapy, been engaging in therapy this whole time while the quarantine has been going on. So I have a background in like all settings as far as mental health is concerned. But I've heard a lot of what you all said, and really, honestly, everybody is impacted different ways. And I feel like sometimes if we think about what social media is saying, it's telling us how we're supposed to be impacted by this quarantine. It's telling us like, well, we're supposed to be doing, oh, you should be productive during this time, and you should be doing this, and you should be doing that. But honestly, that's not viable for everybody. Yeah. So the way it's impacting so many different levels of relationship, right? So you have family, you have couples, you have people who are in situations that are volatile, domestic violence situations. You have people who have their kids at home, so relationships between parents and their children. Teachers aren't teaching in the school, so you having to do that at home. So it's revealing a lot to people about who they are within their relationships, and having to really address that because you're in quarantine. There's no way to exit.
You can't even ignore it at this point because
you go to the grocery store
right there tomorrow. They don't even have it into this yet, so we don't even know. How has it impacted you? You feel like as far as family in any aspect, how has it shifted you, especially for you because you know these tools already? So, like Brian said, he hasn't dug deep into it. Does it take you for you knowing these things?
Yeah, for me, honestly, knowing these things, I think because I'm on the side of like trying to be a helper and help everybody else who's coping with it, like I'm really like focused on my work. But even though I'm focused on my work, I'm like, that doesn't mean that everybody needs to be focused on their work. So I'm like conscientious of that. And I'm like trying to combat these messages that are telling people that you're supposed to be doing something. For some, this isolation is a trigger for their depression. It's a trigger for their trauma. It's a trigger for, maybe having to have conversations with family that they haven't had conversations with all year. And now they don't have an excuse because we're in quarantine, right? So the things that have impacted me, honestly, is really just being able to like sit down and take the time to check in with myself. Like, how are you doing? Because you're checking on everybody else. And that's what you normally do. But normally I'd be able to, go out with a friend or, go grab dinner. I can't do that. So it's like, how are you still keeping your routine despite the quarantine?
And then so the impact time is so weird. Like it could be 2 days. I could be like, dang, I ain't talked to my friend in a week. It's only been 2 days. Yeah. And then the other time I'd be like, well, I just checked on so and so. No, you haven't. It's been a week. Like I feel like the way time has been moving, it's also impacting like those check-ins. You know what I'm saying? Like that's really weird for me too.
Yeah, I had to literally be like, what's today again? Is it Wednesday? Like, is it? I thought it was Tuesday, We're kind of thrown off in the sense that everything is like running together.
Absolutely.
So, go ahead, Bryant.
So, A.Bevy, I'm choosing right now to play the ignorant role because as I introduced, even with what A.Bevy stands for, the introspective journey, toward fulfillment, towards living your life through your passion, your path, and your purpose. I'm always down for growing. And I think one thing that this quarantine has taught me is to remember what matters. But even as a growing young man, I continuously have questions and I want to dive deeper. So I'm going to listen a lot. I might have some questions, but I'm definitely going to come from a standpoint of you just, if I owe you some money after this for the therapy session, just let me know. I just want to put that.
Okay, cool.
No, especially for like women, I feel like I am so moody. And I'm not saying all women are like me, but I'm just saying. And because I'm very introspective and like knowing. Some days I'm like, oh, I'm talkative, I'm hanging out. And then some days I'm like, just leave me alone. And I feel like that's okay. Like me and Brian talk a lot about being okay with.
Yep.
As long as you know what what you need. But I feel like some people, because of this quarantine, is triggering like deeper things and they don't know how to combat that. I don't even know what to tell you. Like, what is it? Everyone's struggling to grab the new normal. So how do we even attack that? Like, how do you normalize your day-to-day emotionally?
Some of us are struggling to grasp it because we're not embracing it. You know, so it's hard to, you know, embrace something that you don't want to embrace. We spend a lot of time, you know, in the beginning, and I'm not saying, you know, I'm generalizing right now, but, you know, a lot of people spend a lot of time in the beginning resisting the quarantine. So when you're resisting something, obviously, it's going to, you know, bring up some strife. Like, I don't want to do this. Like, it's going to be really hard to adjust to a new normal. So part of that is like really having to embrace it. And embrace that change. So, you know, with the moodiness, like you don't know how to feel, like you're having to allow yourself to experience it in the here and now. Like, this is what I'm experiencing. Like, I'm in quarantine. I can't do what I normally would do. So what else can I do? You know, how else can I channel this energy? And I'm not taking the time to do that, or am I scrolling on Instagram, just trying to find people who having the same experience and, you know, kind of putting a Band-Aid over it, or am I really dealing with it? Yeah. Just finding a tribe. You know, so I think part of it is like really sitting in the tension. Like sometimes we don't embrace the tension. Like it's a tense moment right now. How are you embracing it? You know, if that is that, you know, I have a lot of noise in my head, let me sit with myself. Let me figure out what's really going on internally, because we're so used to the hustle and bustle of life. You know, we're really not sitting with ourselves. We're not really sitting to see like how we're doing or checking in with ourselves. Like we don't know how to live alone. You know, and there's just like saying like a man who cannot live with himself cannot live with his fellow man. So like, how are we living with ourselves right now?
And you know, that's major, because I feel like social media is even telling you how to meditate. Like they're even telling you how to be productive, and then they're also telling you how to chill. So then like for the everyday person, you're trying to digest that. Like, am I doing this right? Am I doing this right? Am I doing, you know, it's constant. And even in that sense, like some people, like you said, student, teacher, parent, like parent with their kids. Those are all things that now we have to face. We don't know no end date. We have no idea how this is going to affect in the long term. So that's the thing. Like, I feel like a lot of people are stuck thinking that this is temporary, which it is in a sense. But look at him jotting down. But I keep saying the new normal is going to come after this. Like, it's never going to go back to how it used to be. Because even conversation-wise, relationship-wise, things are happening in relationships right now that you can't undo once they let us outside.
No, you're right. So
like, these are things that you cannot undo.
You can't undo it. And it really reveals, like, you know, what is your communication like? You know what I'm saying? Like, are you effectively able to communicate, or are you typically someone who has a avoidant attachment style? You know, are you anxious? You know, like, we're really...
Call me
and the
out.
part of it.
My therapy right now. I'm gonna tell you, like,
the part of that sucks is really having, like I said, having to embrace the tension, having to sit in who you are as a person, and really having to do that with somebody else. Like if you're living with someone else, like they're seeing all of the different sides of you while you're really re-experiencing the sides of you that you really haven't. You know, and you know, in some ways it may seem unfair, but it's like, how are you going to embrace it? Like, how are you going? Yeah, go ahead.
I didn't mean to cut you off, but
no, you did.
From a therapeutic standpoint, just by definition or structure in general, how would you say that moments of discomfort or moments outside of your circle of normalcy, how should we as people, you know, take those in? Whether it be on the left side, someone who has issues where they have trouble taking it in, or someone who's used to being uncomfortable. Overall, in general, what do these type of moments mean for the individual?
It means that you figure out if you have coping skills or if you do not have coping skills. Like, are you able to cope? You know, even if it wasn't this pandemic, if it was something else, you know, tragic that was happening, like, how would you cope with it? You know, in isolation, you know, maybe you lost your job and now you are home. You know, it doesn't take a pandemic to be able to figure out whether you do or don't have coping skills, but now we're forced into being able to figure that out. Right. So, like, how you handle it is really being able to explore yourself.
Because you could definitely avoid facing you have bad coping skills. Like, you could have gotten moved at your job to a different position, and now you hate your manager, you hate this, but it's really you can't cope. But now that we're in the pandemic and you can't cope at home, like, it's like a new problem at this point, and now I got to deal with it.
Right. Exactly.
I think for me, it revealed control issues. Not in the sense that I thought I had control issues, but in the, oh, you do have them because you thought timelines work on your, like you thought this was happening and you thought you can control this. So like, I'm really revealing, like, I really just got to wake up and see what's the day's agenda. Like I can't control everything. Especially that's what I've learned.
Yeah.
I've been battling with, I guess the realization that I'm an introvert. I thought I had a little more extrovert in me where I could, I want to go out and I want to, connect and build with people, but I'm realizing I'm more of an introvert than I thought. And I'm kind of concerned of how the transition is going to be when we get back to whatever the new normal may be. What do you see? And once that transition happens, we know governors, government in certain places trying to push us back to something normal more sooner than most people think. But what would you say we should have on our minds when it comes to getting back into the swing of things?
Honestly, it just varies person to person. I think for some people it's going to be anxiety. So of course there's this fear of, we're not really ready for this. We spent, time in isolation. Like what's going to happen if I do go out? Some people have completely embraced this to the point where they're like, I don't want to go out. I ain't trying to go back to work. I ain't trying to pretend I got to get up in the morning. Like who's trying to hear that? So it's going to be like a lot of different things happening for people, and I don't think it's a way to like really figure out like how people are going to cope with it. But I think it's going to be some resistance. There's going to be some anxiety. There's even going to be some depression. Because some people didn't like their jobs before going to them. Some people didn't necessarily like their lives before going. Some people are really enjoying being in quarantine with their significant other, because they already had attachment issues before. So being able to see them every day was great. Now they got to go to work and wondering what they doing, where they at, who they with, and everything else. All that stuff starts flooding back in, know? So it's like, it's different for everybody. And I think what I would really love for like social media to take a hold of is that stop trying to box people in. Like everybody's going to respond to this differently. Embrace the differences, embrace the diversity. Like we are not the same people. Nobody is the same, even though we may have similarities in the way we respond to this, like people are going to respond differently, and people are going to need different things. But what I would hope for is that people are able to, or have been able to learn a little bit more about themselves. Like, who am I? What do I need? Outside of all these other things that are distractors for me. Because we haven't had a lot of distractions except for social media. If you were tuning in to DJ Nice or tuning in to Teddy Riley and Babyface, you know what I'm saying? You had other things to distract you. But other than that, it's work if you are able to work from home, and it's you and it's whoever you're dealing with. So hopefully revelation has come a little bit in a sense of, maybe I do have some depression. I need to, seek outside support, because I wasn't able to quiet the noise down in my head. Or maybe, I'm high functioning and I was able to get through this real easy. You know what I'm saying? So like really just taking that time to see who you are, because who you are really impacts your relationship. So any relationships that you have with your family, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, cousin, sister, brother, best friend, whoever, like that's all to deal with you. You only can give what you got inside. So being able to sit with that and embrace that and know that.
Self. If you don't know yourself.
Yeah.
You know what? I really want people, like what I want people to take from this, not a professional, but being self-aware ain't enough. Okay? Because now that I know that I have control issues or they're revealing themselves, I need to know what to do with them. Like I feel like a lot of people get to the point where they can point out what they have and just keep moving. Like, no. Being self-aware and pointing out your flaws. I don't even want to call them flaws, just like your different personality traits. Now you have to figure out how to function with them. You can't just call it out. So I think from this quarantine, I just want people to take what they reveal when they when they open outside, don't forget what you learned inside. That's it.
Yeah. And I think that's big, what you said, like going beyond self-aware. But for some people, this is the first time they've been able to be self-aware in 10 years, So like being able to stop in that moment and be like, let me clap for myself because I didn't even know that this was going on inside of me. Like, and that's like a real aha moment. But for some of us who knew, like, oh, okay, like I already knew I was struggling with a little bit of control issues. You know what I'm saying? Like I knew that was going on. Now this has really made me really understand. Like I really, really got control issues I need to work on. So just like being able to move beyond that. Like now your next step is let me figure out how to sort this out. But for somebody who has been struggling with self-awareness, like they really didn't know, and now they know. Like being able to sit in that, embrace that, and commend yourself for that, and then like how can I push beyond
that? I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you. I see Bryant a lot of notes today.
Yeah, I'm taking out of because I mean our goal overall as an organization is to make self-awareness the most beneficial topic of life. The world is gonna make you act on them, as Ayat is saying. In this quarantine, we're not able to act. So it's like I'm learning, but man, what am I supposed to do now? But at the end of the day, when it comes to therapy, when it comes to learning these life lessons and learning about yourself, we definitely believe self-awareness is the most valuable subject that we can have in our school of life. So
yeah.
Thank you so much. I definitely
no
feel like
problem.
Ooh, Bryant will catch me for the 20-minute therapy session that he received.
Yeah, what we're gonna do now, as we're gonna do with all our guests, we're gonna keep you on tab as far as how Baby's moving forward, whether it be a radio or what we're doing out here. When do you finish with your doctorate?
Hopefully in the next couple of months, honestly. I probably won't be graduating because there won't be any gatherings. But yeah, I'm writing my dissertation now, so I plan to have my draft into the graduate school by the 26th. So yeah, by August.
Amen. So what is it possible? Have they mentioned like a digital dissertation presentation? Has that ever happened?
So I will be defending on Zoom, most likely. Even though, Governor Kemp is opening up Georgia, I go to school in Alabama. Technically, I'm at Auburn, and the state has not opened up there, and we're teaching online this semester. So I know that, likely I'll be defending on Zoom. So maybe I'll get a link and come see me defend my dissertation.
All the ways.
Much love and positive energy to that and everything else that's going on in your life and everything that surrounds you. We thank you.
Yeah, thank y'all for having me.
Of course.